Creating type in Photoshop. Let's go ahead and create some type in Photoshop, and I can step you along the way at some of the options and features that we have. So I'm going to go over to my toolbar here, and it's viewed as one column. I'm going to view it as two up so I can see it a little bit better. I'm going to go to the type tool. So the type tool, the letter T is the shortcut. I have some other options here. We have a horizontal type tool. This is the normal default type tool. We have a vertical type tool, horizontal type mask tool, and a vertical type mask tool. So we're going to start with just the normal default horizontal type tool. When I have my text tool active or my type tool active, I get a crossbar here that indicates I can click and start to add my text. So let's go ahead and do that. Click and I get my flashing cursor or the insertion point that I can then type whatever it is that I want. So a couple of things that happen here. Automatically, when I create text or type in Photoshop, it will be placed on a new layer. You can see it happening right here. So my Photoshop type that was written previously is on its own layer, indicated by the letter T to tell me this is a text or a type layer. This one, the minute I click OK, so to speak, to let this be applied, layer 1 will change to the text that I just typed. So when I have the type tool active, I also have then my type options bar here at the top. Let's go ahead and look at what we see here. The first is the font family. This is the font that I have chosen. So if I want to change my font, I certainly can. However, if I click right now and change it to, let's go with Helvetica Bold, nothing happens. I do not have any type selected at the moment. So I will have to double click to select my text, all of my characters, and then I can go ahead. And you can see that as I scroll here, or use my arrow keys on my keyboard, I can actually get through and see visually what's going to happen when I change that font. Kind of a cool feature. So let's get back up to Helvetica Bold. Right here it is. The next item here, Helvetica Bold. The next item is the font style. So if the font comes with a specific style, another attribute in its family, I would see it here. So in this case, I can choose actually a Helvetica Light. I have Helvetica Regular. I have a bold, oblique. Oblique is just in an slant, kind of an italic. Okay. The next box I have here in the options bar is my font size. So remember, there are 72 points in 1 inch. That gives you a little bit of a reference. If you're going to create text, you typically want to have, depending on the application, make sure it's readable. So like I said, 1 inch is 72 points. If I am going to create a headline, I'm probably going to be 1824 on up. Body copy of text, usually between 12 and 10. 8 and 6 is really the smallest you can go and still have it be readable, although that is a very difficult point size for something in a digital format. So our point size, if it's not listed here in some of our traditional defaults, I can either use my scrubby slider, and you can see as I drag left or right and give my screen a chance to redraw, you can see that the text does change as I drag it. I can also go ahead and type in here a number that I may know and then pressing enter to apply. The next item here in the options bar is my anti-aliasing. We are not going to get too much in depth with anti-aliasing, but note that this is how my text is rendered. So it basically looks at the edges, specifically on the curved edges, and it will depend on the aliasing and how it fills in the pixels. So if I don't have anti-aliasing turned on, what happens is I might get some jaggeds. And actually, if I can zoom in here, let's use our zoom tool and zoom in really close, you can kind of see that these jaggeds are happening in the slants. Let's go back to the type tool and select this. With it selected, I see it in reverse, and you might see if I go from sharp, see how it's much smoother, to a none. So none means that it's aliased. It's not anti-aliased, it's aliased. And so this can cause those jaggies, and it can be an issue. So type points that are greater than 12 should have some sort of anti-aliasing method applied. The best resolution is with sharp. Like I said, none is no anti-alias, so it's aliased. Sharp has the probably the best resolution. Crisp gives it a little bit more definition, and maybe it looks a little bit more crisp. Strong actually gives the appearance of almost bolding it in some cases, and smooth a little bit more rounded edges. So by default, you're probably going to stick with sharp. So at this point, just know about it. Don't be so concerned with it yet. The next item that we have are alignments. So I have a left aligned, a center aligned, and a right aligned. We'll look at that in more detail when we talk about attributes. I have my font color here, and when I click the little swatch, I'm able to see my color picker and be able to choose whatever color I want, and I can choose in the spectrum. I can also choose an HSB, hue, saturation, brightness, RGB, red, green, blue, my hex number. I can choose lab, the luminance, and the 2 chromatic components, and I can choose CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and K mean key color or black. If I want to show only my web colors, I can do that as well. So this is a great place that you can choose whatever kind of a color you are looking for and apply that. Okay, so if I click OK, now I'm still having my text selected here, so that's why I'm seeing it so large. Let's zoom out. Now here's a thing that I just did that typically happens to most people. I still have my text tool selected. I tried to use quick keys on my keyboard. I like to use my my space bar with my control or command and alt and option key, and with my text tool still active, it replaces the text because the space bar triggers a space. So I just actually deleted my text here. So you have to be cautious. I'm gonna see if I can't get to another tool here and do an undo so that it replaces it back. So you have to be cautious. The space bar, remember, is a nice way to move around your page, but you can't do that when you have your text activated or selected. Okay. A couple of other things that we do have here. So if I double click, I get the whole word. I can click and drag as well to get partials here selected. We have a warp feature, again, something that's a little bit above and beyond what we want to talk about in this lesson, but it's an effect that we can apply. And then we have some other things here that we can do. Of course, we have the no to not accept any changes, or yes to accept the changes that we've applied up here. So that's the options bar, how to easily create text with the type tool. Key things that you want to be concerned about, obviously, is the font that you choose, your size, again, you can change that there, your color, which you can change right here, and potentially alignment depending on what it is that you're doing.